Peace and love, everyone. Peace and love. Now, today I'm going to do a video on Mary Magdalene. Now, Mary Magdalene, there's a lot of lies about her, like her being a prostitute. Now, this is bullshit. This is because of Pope Gregory the Great. He labelled her as a prostitute, and that was in 591 AD. Now, in 1969, the Catholic Church officially stated that they made a mistake. Now, the reason why was to remove the role of women from the church, to remove their role of power from the church, and to remove the role of Mary Magdalene. Now, Mary Magdalene was mentioned in all four Gospels in the New Testament, where not all disciples are mentioned in all four of the Gospels. Now, with Mary, she was originally the Virgin. She was the bridegroom of Christ. She's also the first to witness the resurrection. Now, with no Mary Magdalene, there would be no church. She was the first witness. Now, in some other stories, it's her and a group of women. Now, the prostitute that was washing Jesus' feet with her hair, with the oil, that wasn't Mary. She's not actually named. Now, there's stories which are actually pagan in origin, which have Mary Magdalene growing long hair, being out in the wilderness after seeing the resurrection and crucifixion of Jesus. Now, this is based from a Celtic goddess and other Celtic mythology. Now, even with the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, which has been removed from the Bible. Now, some scholars date this to the 2nd century, early 2nd century, or even somewhat earlier, possibly copied from an even earlier text. Now, in this Gospel, she encourages the other disciples to put on courage, because the other disciples are scared that they just crucified Jesus and they're worried that they're not going to spare them. She's like, put on courage and put on the perfect man, achieve the Christ for yourself. Peter even challenges and says that some of the teachings that Jesus told her in private are strange. He didn't believe her. And that one of the other disciples said, Peter, you're going off at her like an adversary. If Jesus made her worthy, who will be the judge? So she was the main disciple in a sense. She was one that truly understood Jesus. And it's even mentioned Jesus would often kiss her. Jesus loved her. Now, in the Eastern Orthodox and Catholic tradition, it has the Easter egg story being with Mary Magdalene, that apparently she went to go to Emperor Tiberius to yell at him for the crucifixion of Jesus, and she told him that Jesus has resurrected. And the emperor replies to her, it's impossible for the egg that you're holding, because she's holding the egg, and for a man to resurrect, and for the egg that you're holding to change colour. Now, apparently instantly the egg changed red in some stories. So they started painting Easter eggs from this tradition. Now, where this comes from is the egg represents life, death, rebirth. So it represents the resurrection with giving you life. And her being a bride of Christ, in a sense, her being the mother, her being Sophia. So, in a sense, the Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene are both connected, being the mother and also being Sophia, being one. So you got the Sophia with the fall and being the all-mother cosmic mind, and then you got the from the fall being brought up. So humanity ascending. So it's a purely symbolical role. It also mentions in the Gospel of Mary that there is no sin. It's we who create sin, that we do the shitty things like adultery and murder that is sin. So we overcome these sins in order in life to really ascend. So out of the darkness comes the light. So when you truly know yourself and go from within. Now, with the other disciples, reason why she truly understood Jesus, because a lot of other disciples were conflicted by their religious beliefs and believed that Jesus was going to be warlike and here to take out the Romans. And Mary's like, no, he's speaking the message of love. Now, there's some stories about Mary having children even with Jesus and their bloodline mixing in with the French royal family, and that they reckon that they have her skull over in France to this day as well. Now, reason why a lot of French stories was because she went to ancient Gaul and she was preaching there. She also had John following her and Thomas as well. And then Thomas went over to India and was preaching over there and starting an early church over in India. But a lot of the Gospels don't have all of this because a lot's been removed. Now, a lot of disciples either followed Jesus' brother James, some followed Mary Magdalene, some followed Peter. And then later on, some followed Paul, which was way later, pretty much. Because Paul never met Jesus. So well, there's different sort of Pauls. There's sort of two Pauls merged into the story. So there's a bit of a heretic, and then a bit of Simon Magnus, which is all sort of mixed in. And then they try to put Simon Magnus as a heretic, and really he wasn't. He was an early church father. So a lot of history is just written by the winners, and a lot of it's misconception. Even in movies, they portray Mary as a prostitute. Oh, fuck them. It's trying to remove the role of women. She was pretty much pro-feminist. So she even would speak to both men and women. She was preaching. She was one of the earliest church leaders, one of the first. She had a tremendous role, and there's a possible chance she was funding Jesus' movement. So in some stories that she was even a widow and all sorts, so to try to explain, because they didn't like the idea of Jesus being married. If you read the Gospel of Philip, it mentions that Jesus and Mary were lovers. So Mary was and Jesus, they both loved each other. And this is nothing wrong with this. And again, she truly understood Jesus. Why would he kiss her otherwise? Why would he be kissing her on the lips and the mouth? It's because he loved her. It was a couple. So she was the bride of Christ. So you've got Jesus being also symbolic with the Son of the Father, being the Son, being the Father. And then you've got the feminine version of the masculine and feminine. So you've got a feminine version of Christ being Sophia, being Mary Magdalene, being the mother. So the mother, the Father, the Son, the Trinity. And then later on, it's sort of been mixed in with pagan origins and greedy men, and made the Christian version of church that we have today, which had nothing to do with early Christianity. Peace and love, everyone. I love you all. Connect to one mind and soul. Namaste.